The milk in your refrigerator right now might not be what you think it is. You've been buying it for years, maybe your whole life. You pour it into your cereal, stir it into your coffee, give it to your kids before school every morning. And not once have you questioned what's actually inside that carton. Why would you? It says milk. It looks like milk. It tastes like milk. But what if the problem isn't what you can see? What if it's what you can't? In the next few minutes, we're going to walk through something that most people never think to look into. Not because the information isn't out there, but because it's buried under decades of marketing, brand loyalty, and the assumption that something this basic, something this everyday, has to be safe. Here's what we know: independent testing, consumer advocacy reports, and regulatory filings from the past several years have raised consistent questions about how certain commercial milk brands are produced, what goes into them, and what stays in them by the time they reach your table. Residues from certain agricultural inputs, practices that some researchers suggest may carry long-term implications when consumed regularly over time. Processing methods that can affect the nutritional profile of the milk itself. We're not here to alarm you, we're here to educate you. Because an informed consumer is a protected consumer. And before we get into the 10 brands worth paying closer attention to, let me tell you this. We'll also be covering 3 milk brands that genuinely stand out for transparency, quality, and cleanliness. So stay with us, because that information is just as important as everything else you're about to hear. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Number 10 on our list is Great Value Milk, Walmart's house brand. When you see the words "Great Value" on a label, you're looking at the result of a very deliberate business decision. Keep the price as low as possible and meet the minimum legal standard required to put the product on a shelf. For many grocery categories, that approach is perfectly fine. For milk, it raises some questions worth considering. Great Value sources its milk from a network of conventional dairy farms, and the details about which farms, what practices they use, and how frequently those farms are audited are not publicly disclosed. The cartons provide no information about whether the cows were raised with or without the use of recombinant bovine growth hormone, a synthetic hormone sometimes referred to as recombinant bovine somatotropin. Research on recombinant bovine somatotropin has produced mixed findings over the years. And while regulatory bodies in the United States have not banned its use, a number of countries, including Canada, Australia, Japan, and most of Europe, have chosen not to approve it for commercial dairy production. That contrast is worth knowing about. Additionally, conventional dairy farms that supply store brands often use antibiotics as part of routine management. While milk is tested for antibiotic residues before it enters commercial channels, critics of the system point out that the testing protocols catch direct antibiotic presence, but may not account for all metabolic byproducts of antibiotic use in livestock. Great Value milk is a widely available, affordable product. But for households that drink milk daily and want greater visibility into how their food is produced, it may not be the first choice among more informed shoppers. Number 9 is Dean's Milk. Dean Foods was for a long time the largest dairy processor in the United States before filing for bankruptcy in 2019. That context matters because it tells you something about the business model: massive scale, nationwide distribution, and an emphasis on volume over traceability. Dean's Milk is produced through a network of processing plants drawing from hundreds of conventional dairy farms. The supply chain is by design large and diffuse, which makes individual farm accountability difficult to verify from the outside. Independent researchers and food safety advocates have pointed out that milk from large-scale conventional dairy operations tends to reflect the conditions of those farms, including the use of synthetic hormones, routine antibiotic treatment, and feed that may contain genetically modified grains. Nutritionally, Dean's Milk goes through standard high-temperature pasteurization in some of its product lines, a process that critics argue degrades heat, sensitive nutrients including certain B vitamins and whey proteins. This is not unique to Deans, and standard pasteurization is widely considered safe. But the combination of opaque sourcing, large-scale industrial production, and processing methods that may reduce the milk's original nutritional value puts Deans in a position where it's not among the preferred options for consumers looking to make the most informed choice. It is worth saying clearly, Deans milk meets the regulatory standards set for commercial dairy products in the United States. If it's in your refrigerator, that's understandable. But there are options with more transparency available. Number 8 is Borden milk. Borden has one of the most recognizable faces in American dairy marketing. Elsie the cow has been part of the brand's identity for decades. But brand heritage and product quality are two different things, and it's worth separating them. Borden sources milk from conventional farms across several regions of the country. Like most large commercial dairy brands, they do not publish comprehensive information about which farms supply them, what practices those farms follow, or whether recombinant bovine somatotropin is used in their supply chain. Some Borden products are labeled as not from cows treated with recombinant bovine somatotropin, but this labeling is not consistent across all of their product lines, which means a carton of Borden milk at one retailer may come with different assurances than one at another. Independent food safety researchers have noted that the lack of standardized, mandatory disclosure requirements for hormone use in conventional American dairy makes it genuinely difficult for consumers to make fully informed comparisons across brands. Borden, like many of its peers in the conventional segment, operates within a system that does not require that level of transparency. The brand is not unusual or uniquely problematic. It simply falls into the broader category of large-scale conventional dairy, where certain questions about sourcing and production practices don't have clear, publicly available answers. Number 7 is Horizon organic milk. This one tends to surprise people, and it's worth approaching carefully because Horizon is a certified organic brand, and organic certification does mean something. It means the cows are not given synthetic hormones or antibiotics, and the feed is grown without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. Those are genuine distinctions. The concern with Horizon is something different. It has to do with scale and the interpretation of organic standards. Horizon is owned by Danone, one of the world's largest food corporations, and its milk comes from very large dairy operations. For years, Horizon faced scrutiny from organic advocates and the Cornucopia Institute, an agricultural research group, over whether some of its supplier farms were providing cows with adequate access to pasture, as required by organic regulations. The argument is that when organic dairy scales to the size of a conventional industrial operation, certain practices that are central to the spirit of organic farming, like meaningful outdoor access and grass-based feeding, can become diluted. The United States Department of Agriculture has at various points acknowledged the complexity of enforcing pasture access requirements across large operations. Some investigations found that certain Horizon suppliers appeared to have unusually high milk production volumes per cow, which critics argued was inconsistent with genuinely pasture-based management. Horizon organic milk is a better choice than most conventional options. That needs to be said honestly. But for consumers who want organic milk that reflects the full intent of small-scale, pasture-based farming, there are alternatives worth exploring further on this list. Number 6 is Lactaid. Lactaid is a popular option for people who have difficulty digesting lactose, and the product does what it promises. The lactase enzyme is added to break down lactose, making the milk more digestible for people with lactose sensitivity. That functional benefit is real. The question with Lactaid is not really about what they add. It's about what the base milk is and where it comes from. Lactaid is produced by McNeil Nutritionals, which is part of the Johnson & Johnson consumer health portfolio and uses conventional milk as its foundation. The sourcing of that conventional milk is not disclosed in detail. There is no confirmation on most lactate product lines about whether recombinant bovine somatotropin was used, and the farming practices of the dairy suppliers are not publicly available. Lactate is also an ultra-pasteurized product in most of its formulations, which extends shelf life significantly, but involves heating milk to much higher temperatures than standard pasteurization. Some nutritionists and food researchers have observed that ultra-pasteurization can reduce levels of certain heat-sensitive proteins and enzymes. Whether this meaningfully affects the health profile of the milk as part of a normal diet is debated, and we're not making a definitive claim here, but it's a factor that some informed consumers choose to weigh when selecting dairy products. For people who genuinely need lactose-free milk, lactate serves a real purpose. For those who can tolerate lactose without issue, choosing a product with more transparency around farming practices may be worth considering. Number 5 is Land O'Lakes milk. Land O'Lakes has a trusted reputation, particularly in the butter category, and it operates as a farmer-owned cooperative, which is a meaningful structural distinction from purely investor-driven corporations. When a dairy brand is structured as a cooperative, the farmers who supply the milk have a financial stake in the organization, which can create different incentives around quality. However, Land O'Lakes conventional milk products still come from large-scale dairy operations where the use of recombinant bovine, somatotropin, and routine antibiotic treatment are not categorically excluded. The cooperative model does not automatically mean organic or hormone-free, and most Land O'Lakes conventional milk is produced under the same general conditions as other major commercial dairy brands. Their labeling on the hormone question is inconsistent. Some product lines carry a statement about not using recombinant bovine somatotropin. Others do not. For consumers who are specifically looking for organic or pasture-raised options, Land O'Lakes conventional products do not meet that standard. The cooperative structure is a positive aspect of the brand's identity, and their organic line is a different story. But the standard conventional white labeled product sits in the same general territory as most other large commercial dairy brands when it comes to transparency around farming inputs. Number 4 is Fairlife milk. Fairlife has built a compelling marketing story around its filtration process, which produces milk with higher protein content, lower sugar, and a smooth taste profile, and the product genuinely does deliver on those nutritional claims. The filtration technology they use concentrates certain components while removing others, which changes the macronutrient profile in a meaningful way. Fairlife is owned by Coca-Cola, and it sources milk from large commercial dairy farms. In 2019, one of Fairlife's primary dairy suppliers, Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana, was the subject of undercover investigation footage that showed serious animal welfare violations. The footage was disturbing and was widely covered in news media. Fairlife severed ties with that specific supplier following the investigation and announced changes to its animal welfare oversight practices. The reason this matters for a consumer education discussion is not to single out Fairlife unfairly. Many large dairy brands have faced similar questions, but it illustrated the gap that can exist between the premium, wellness-oriented marketing of a product and the realities of industrial-scale dairy farming and its supply chain. The filtration process Fairlife uses is also ultra-pasteurization, which, as mentioned earlier, involves high heat treatment. The company does not disclose comprehensive information about current farming practices, antibiotic use policies, or recombinant bovine somatotropin status across all of its supply chain. Fairlife is an interesting product with real nutritional differentiation. But for consumers who prioritize farming transparency alongside nutritional quality, there are more complete options available. Number 3 is Organic Valley milk. Wait, you might be thinking, isn't Organic Valley one of the good ones? For the most part, yes. and we will be discussing Organic Valley's core product line in our recommended section shortly. But Organic Valley does produce some product lines and some regional variations where the standards are not identical to their flagship offerings, and it's worth being precise about this. Organic Valley is a cooperative of independent organic farmers, and their core standards are genuinely strong. The cows are pasture-raised, certified organic, hormone-free, and antibiotic-free. The organization has a meaningful commitment to small family farm sourcing. All of that is real and verifiable. However, some of Organic Valley's extended product lines, particularly certain ultra-pasteurized formulations and some of their flavored milk products, involve processing that some nutritionists argue diminishes the advantages of starting with high-quality organic milk. Additionally, as Organic Valley has grown significantly over the years, questions about consistency across their large and geographically diverse cooperative network have been raised by some food researchers. We include Organic Valley here not as a concern but as a nuance. Their core whole milk and conventional Sevo, non-flavored product lines are excellent and appear in our recommended section. But not every product with the Organic Valley label is equivalent, and consumers who are trying to get the most out of their dairy choices benefit from knowing that distinction. Number 2 is Nesquik and other flavored milk products. Flavored milks occupy their own category because the conversation shifts from farming practices to formulation. Nesquik is one of the most visible flavored milk brands in the American market, and it targets children specifically through its marketing. The base milk in Nesquik products is conventional, without publicly disclosed sourcing details regarding recombinant bovine somatotropin use or farming practices. But the more pressing concern with flavored milk products is the added sugar content and the artificial additives in some formulations. A single serving of Nesquik chocolate milk contains added sugar at levels that nutritionists and pediatric health researchers suggest are meaningfully higher than what children benefit from in a daily milk product. The American Heart Association's guidelines on added sugar consumption for children, which have been published and are publicly available, set thresholds that many servings of commercial flavored milk exceed. Nesquik also contains artificial flavors, carrageenan in some formulations, a seaweed-derived thickening agent that has been the subject of debate regarding its effects on gut inflammation in some studies, and natural flavors that are not further specified on the label. None of this makes Nesquik an unsafe product in a strict regulatory sense. But for parents who are thinking carefully about what they're giving their children, the combination of conventional milk sourcing uncertainty, high added sugar, and undisclosed natural flavors puts this category of products outside what most informed pediatric nutritionists would recommend as a daily staple. Number 1 is store brand ultra-pasteurized milk from discount chains. This category covers several brands, including those sold at dollar stores, certain discount grocery chains, and generic labels at large retail chains where ultra-pasteurized milk is sold in shelf-stable cartons without. These products are legal. They meet United States food safety standards, but they represent the end of the line in terms of dairy quality, transparency, and nutritional value. Shelf-stable ultra-pasteurized milk has been heated to temperatures of approximately 280 degrees Fahrenheit for a brief period, which kills all microorganisms and allows the product to sit unrefrigerated for months. The trade-off for that extended shelf life is significant. Heat at those temperatures denatures a portion of the whey proteins, reduces levels of certain heat-sensitive vitamins including B12 and B6, and alters the flavor profile of the milk. The sourcing for store brand milk sold in these formats is essentially unknown to the consumer. No farm names, no regional sourcing details, no hormone use disclosure. The entire value proposition is shelf stability and low price. For households that consume milk infrequently and need it to last, the shelf-stable category fills a practical need. But for people who drink milk regularly as part of their daily nutrition, the combination of unknown sourcing, Industrial processing at high heat and minimal label information means this is not where you want to anchor your dairy choices. Now let's talk about the 3 brands that are genuinely doing this right. The first recommended brand is Maple Hill Creamery. Maple Hill is a 100% grass-fed certified organic dairy brand based in New York, and it is one of the most rigorous in the American market when it comes to both animal welfare and product quality. Every carton of Maple Hill milk comes from cows that eat only grass and forage throughout their lives. No grain, no soy. 100% grass-fed dairy has a meaningfully different nutritional profile from conventional milk. Higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, higher concentrations of conjugated linoleic acid, and greater amounts of certain fat-soluble vitamins. These differences have been documented in peer-reviewed nutritional research. Maple Hill works exclusively with small, independent family farms, and they provide full transparency about their sourcing and standards on their website. Every farm in their network is third-party verified for grass-fed practices. The milk is certified organic, meaning no synthetic hormones and no antibiotics. It is also non-homogenized in some of their product lines, which means the cream rises naturally to the top, as it does in traditionally produced milk. Maple Hill is more expensive than most conventional options, and that is an honest reflection of what it costs to produce milk this way. For consumers who drink milk regularly and want the highest level of quality and transparency available, it is among the best choices in the American market. The second recommended brand is Organic Valley Whole Milk. We mentioned Organic Valley earlier with some nuance, and that nuance stands. But their core whole milk product, produced through their small farm cooperative network, is a genuinely excellent choice. Organic Valley farmers are certified organic, which means no synthetic hormones, no antibiotics, and organic feed. Their pasture-raised standard, which applies to a significant portion of their line, requires cows to spend a minimum of 120 days per year on pasture and to receive at least 30% of their dry matter intake from pasture during the grazing season. That is a meaningful commitment, not a token gesture. The cooperative model means that farmers retain ownership and have accountability to one another, which creates structural incentives for maintaining quality and adherence to standards that are different from what you find in investor-owned commodity dairy operations. Independent testing from organizations like the Cornucopia Institute has consistently ranked Organic Valley favorably among large organic dairy brands, particularly for their pasture standards and farmer accountability practices. For consumers who want certified organic milk from a verifiable cooperative with a strong track record and reasonable accessibility across the United States, Organic Valley Whole Milk represents one of the most reliable mainstream choices available. The third recommended brand is Alexandra Family Farm. If Maple Hill is one of the best in the grass-fed organic category, Alexandra Family Farm is arguably the gold standard in a category that goes even further: regenerative organic certified dairy. Based in Northern California, Alexandra Family Farm holds both United States Department of Agriculture Organic Certification and Regenerative Organic Certification, a newer and more demanding standard that addresses not only what goes into the animals, but also how the land is managed. Regenerative organic farming focuses on building soil health, sequestering carbon, supporting biodiversity, and creating agricultural systems that are designed to improve over time, rather than simply extract productivity. The cows at Alexandra are entirely grass-fed and pasture-raised on certified regenerative land. No antibiotics, no hormones, no grain. Their A2 milk line, produced from cows that carry only the A2 beta casein protein variant, has attracted attention from consumers and researchers who are exploring whether A2 milk may be more easily digestible for some people compared to conventional milk that contains a mixture of A1 and A2 proteins. The research on this is ongoing and nuanced, but it represents an additional dimension of thoughtful product development. Alexandra's transparency is exceptional. They publish information about their farming practices, their certifications, and their approach to land management. Their milk is available at a growing number of retailers in the western United States and increasingly through online delivery services nationally. Alexandre Family Farm represents a version of dairy production that goes beyond simply meeting organic standards. It reflects a deliberate philosophy about how food should be grown and what the relationship between farming and the broader environment should look like. So here is what you have just learned. Milk is not a simple commodity. The differences between products on the supermarket shelf vary more than most people realize, and they span sourcing, farming practices, hormone use, processing methods, and nutritional outcomes. The 10 brands we walked through today represent a range of concerns, from lack of transparency to specific practices that some researchers have raised questions about. None of them are inherently dangerous products within the current regulatory framework, and that is important to say clearly. But the question is not only whether something is technically within legal limits. The question is whether you have the information you need to make the best choice for yourself and your family. The 3 recommended brands, Maple Hill Creamery, Organic Valley Whole Milk, and Alexandra Family Farm, each represent a different price point and a different level of availability. Maple Hill and Organic Valley can be found at most natural food retailers and a growing number of conventional grocery chains. Alexandre is expanding but remains primarily a Western and online market option. All 3 are meaningfully more expensive than store-brand conventional milk, and that is a real consideration for household budgets. If cost is a constraint, Organic Valley tends to offer the best combination of verified quality, cooperative farming practices, and broad availability at the most reasonable price point among the 3. What matters most is that you go into the dairy aisle with more information than you had before. You now know what questions to ask, what labels to look for, and what the differences actually mean. Recombinant bovine somatotropin disclosure, organic certification, pasture access standards, processing temperatures, and sourcing transparency are not obscure technical details. They are the things that tell you what is actually in your carton. The food industry does not always make this easy to know, but you do not have to accept that. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who buys milk every week without a second thought. The people around you deserve to have this information too. And next time you are standing in the dairy aisle, you will know exactly what to look for.